Dear Grace, can try something new today. I guess technically it's not new. I'm sure I've done it before. I've done 80 some of these for you. Start. I'm gonna just keep recording throughout the day. Not continual, don't worry. For once, I'm actually gonna pause it instead of leaving a considerable amount of dead air. I'm sorry for the pause. Somebody smoking cannabis, and I had to look around to see who it was. Make sure it wasn't some kid, because it's an epidemic, you know. Anyway, joke number 1. I'm 25% Ukrainian, 25% Russian, and 50% German. Right now, half of my body is fighting with each other. And the other half is waiting to find a loser and then invade. It sounded much better in my head when I thought about it on the train. But you get the point, Grace. Run it through AI and clean it up for me, if you don't mind, if you're not busy today. Just hanging around doing nothing. Alright, next stroke in a minute or two. Technically, it's 2:27, so might as well make this even more boring and dictate out every last aspect. So it's 2:27, let's see how long it takes for me to come up with another new quote-unquote joke. This isn't a new joke, Grace, but to add to yesterday's joke about being nude and getting up to go to the washroom, I need to add more to that. All the different things stuck to me when I wake up, or stand up, I guess. A vape pen, and the reason why you don't want to use round vape pens. Chips. Rice. Lots of earplugs. Need to add that to the joke too. Whenever an earplug comes out, I just reach over and grab a new one instead of searching for it in the bed. So then I wake up with a bunch of earplugs. Or I wake up surrounded by earplugs. Unfortunately, not surrounded by women, but surrounded by earplugs. Earplugs for women. This is more of an observation than a joke, Grace. At a comedy club, there's a sign up front that says, "This is a window. Please come inside to talk to me." Or, "Please come inside to talk." I'm not sure. Didn't take a picture. Either way, it's clear the comedy club has no respect for its customers. They don't believe that smart enough to understand. It's not a very funny joke, Grace, but to start. Another funny sign, Grace. For a rainy day, don't buy an RRSP, buy a rain suit. Fuck, that's funny. Oh, the laughter that brought me, Grace. Endless. I might be a little sarcastic on the first day this year, but I'm sure that'll go away shortly. Alright, not in the studio. Back in the room. Normal amount of noise. hopefully you'll be able to get to sleep, Grace. I'm feeling very monotone today, so maybe that'll help. Knock you right out. Or bore the fuck out of me, whichever. We left off at 600. Leon. Other mammals have this capability, although it's through sonar which we can detect. However, we can't detect any sonar coming from or being received by either Dave or Cat U. 601. Dave. This my point about books, Joe. You trust Leon, yes? Joe, yes. Dave. But it is hard to believe, isn't it? Joe, yes. $605, Dave. So you need a book filled with data to believe us? Which, by the way, we brought on a hard drive for you. Every MRI, CT scan, blood test, EEG, weightless training results, G-force simulator, psychological exams, everything. It would take you a year to read. Or you can simply believe that Leon has done his homework before coming on your show and possibly destroying his entire empire when the world believes it's all sort of elaborate prank for whatever reason. Technically, Grace, I'm editing and talking at the same time. If you couldn't tell. 609, and I could think of a few reasons to fuck with the world. 610, Joe, like. Dave, revenge. Cat U, he's kidding. Leon, how about one last demonstration? Jamie, can you take Dave or Cat U, your choice, out of the building and tell them anything you like? Joe, Jamie, do you mind? Jamie, not at all. Jamie picks Dave and they go outside. Jamie talks to Dave about his obsession with golf. And simultaneously, as he speaks, Cat U repeats Jamie's words, word for word, inside the studio. They return. Joe tells Jamie what he talked about, and Jamie confirms. Jamie then reviews the video of Cat U speaking as himself and confirms it's at least 99% accurate. Jamie, I'm starting to believe. But how do we know it's not some new secret brain link technology? Leon, we can look at their recent brain scans. And if you like, we can go after the podcast and get 2 new MRIs to show there are no implants. Cat U, can we get back to the books for a minute? In the psych ward, explains the origin of the cars. Joe, please do. Cat U, after the psych ward, Dave was sent to another psychiatrist who performed a complete examination. Every test in the book, ADHD, autism, bipolar, sociopath, psychopath, everything, including IQ test. Joe, and Cat U. While on the mental health side, Dave was diagnosed with various conditions, including ADHD, autism, bipolar, and schizophrenia, but... Joe, but? Dave, but I lied on all those mental health tests. I wanted those diagnoses. Joe, why? Why indeed, Grace? $631. Dave, but I lied on all the mental health tests. I wanted those diagnoses. Joe, why? Dave, I was about to become homeless. Street homeless. I was on welfare and it was enough for a room, but not enough for food or life. I couldn't work with the tinnitus. I was unable to focus on coding databases with the loud ringing in my ears 24/7. And I couldn't find a doctor to fill out a disability application for tinnitus. With these additional diagnoses, I was approved for medical disability, and my monthly payment was doubled, enough to live on. Barely, but enough to give me a break. I tried to consider universal income, not welfare. Joe, and the IQ test? I didn't fake it. I tried my best, except the memory portion. The pretty young lady giving me the test had a very soothing voice, and in the memory portion, she would ask me to repeat a list of numbers back to her. Sometimes asked me to sort them in order. For some reason, it's like her last words were the only words I've ever heard in my head. Eventually, the list was getting long, and I thought, shit, I don't want the test to show I have a high memory. And I purposely tapped out, so to speak. Joe, why? Dave, I was afraid if it showed a high memory, I could lose the benefits, my only source of income. Leon adds. 6:45. Leon adds. The results were inconclusive. In some areas, Dave was off the chart, both high and low. All the language and visual test results were high, as well as the current events, but other things like math were low. A good example is reading comprehension was in the 98th percentile, but his spelling level was at a grade 7. Joe, can you explain why? Dave, I can. Leon, not now. Dave wants to explain how his spelling level is significantly higher when he types on a computer, even without using spell check, how muscle memory affects physical memory, and how he could ace that fucking test if he was in front of a keyboard, not holding a pen. Instead, he allows Leon to drone on. Leon the droner. Joe noticed that both Leon and Cat U tend to stop Dave at times, like they're holding him back from telling some long, inconsequential story that has nothing to do with their intended purpose in the Joe Rogan experience. Like that sentence. Joe wouldn't mind a side story, but also notices the seriousness of Leon's demeanor. 6:54, Cat U. His memory scores. This is what's 6:54. Cat U. His memory scores. This is what started the card demonstration. Dave started reading about people who have photographic memories and how they can memorize a deck of cards in seconds. Some took a minute. Dave believed he could do the same and started to practice. I watched him for hours, shuffling a deck, spreading it out, attempting to memorize, and then testing himself, flipping over one card at a time. 6:57. Joe to Dave. How did you do? 6:58, Dave. I sucked at first. Once I could get the first 5 cards, then it was only a matter of increasing that number 1 per day. In a couple of months, I figured I'd be able to do the whole deck, which is what I did, and it worked. In 2 months, I taught myself to memorize a deck perfectly. Joe, but that's not unusual. Cat U, agreed. It's a skill, not telepathy. Or so I thought as I watched Dave perform the trick for hours. Probably cut out that for hours again, but Dave spread out the cards. I would see him on my screen and attempt the same memorization feat as him. 6:63, Joe, let me guess. You can make a I guess I can't say memory today. 6:63, Joe, let me guess. You can memorize a deck too. 6:64, Cat U, well, maybe, but not by myself. 6:65, Joel, what do you mean? Ooh, we're on line 666. Of course, it's a Dave line. That's just a coincidence. 666, Dave. I'll explain, Joe. I'm not proud of this, but I hated being on disability. I knew if I could relieve some of my financial stress in my life, I could once again either write or code, but I needed money. That's not a great line for 666, but it'll have to do. Dave, I'll explain, Joe. I'm not proud of this. We'll just be nice and slow like Captain Kirk. I'll explain, Joe. I'm not proud of this, but I hated being on disability. I knew if I could relieve, I could If I could relieve some of the financial stress in my life, I could once again either write or code, but I needed money. I was tired of being a gigolo. 667, Joe, unsure where Dave is heading. Okay. 668, Dave. I hated the handout. To me it was a failure. I was determined to earn a living again, by any means possible, including gambling. Joe, card counting? Dave, no, side bets. No, side bets. I went to the casino, made some friends, and then bet them I could memorize a deck of cards in a minute or less. The first guy bet $100, which was about half my remaining food budget for the month, and I failed. I didn't get past card 5. They laughed at me. Joe, why? Dave, no clue. At home, I had this perfected. I assumed it was nerves, so I had a beer and tried again. This time $50 just in case. Joe, and you lost again? Dave, I did better. 7 cards. Better. But still, I ate ramen noodles the rest of the month, just like in the movies. I could have gone to the food bank, but again, pride decided against that action. 659, Joe, I don't care if the story's bullshit now. You've got me hooked. What happened next? Got me hooked too. I can't remember writing this. $680, Dave. I continued to practice. Took $200 for my next disability check and tried again. This time at a different casino, but still no luck. 10 cards was my maximum, in public. I gave up. I couldn't afford to test it any longer. But that night, on my return home, I ran into Kat. We talked a bit. I didn't tell her what I was doing, but decided to pretend to bet with her, which she agreed to. 683, Kat U. Dave said, do you want to see a card trick? I knew where he's headed. Maya and I had watched him learn this trick. I internally reminded myself to act surprised when he succeeded. $685, Dave. Kat shuffled. I spread the cards on the table and memorized them. I asked Kat to pick up the first card and focus on the card. I was pretending this was some sort of mind-reading trick as a backup for failing, but I didn't need it. I got the entire deck right, and Kat pretended to be amazed. 688, Kat U grinning. My acting skills were improving. 689, Leon. The short story, Joe, is that Dave was never memorizing the entire deck. Every time he was successful, Kat U was watching. They were connecting telepathically, and neither knew or understood why. 690, Joel, who figured it out? 691, Kat U, Leon. $692, Leon. No, I had a clue and started the process. I told Kat U to keep practicing with Dave every time he asks, but to find opportunities to reshuffle a deck without him seeing. She did this, and Dave continued to memorize the entire deck after the secret shuffle. At this stage, telepathy of some sort was the only explanation. But then Dave caught Kat U reshuffling. She wasn't doing it every time, but when he caught her, he didn't say anything. 696, Kat U, I got cocky. I'm not a magician. Kat U, I got cocky. I'm not a magician. Dave, it worked out perfectly. Joe, why? $699, Dave, I was nearing the same conclusion. Thought maybe it had something to do with the house and being comfortable in my environment, but I tried the trick on a different housemate and once again couldn't reach double digits. I assumed this was the average human limit, so why perfection with Cat U? Joe, aliens? Everyone laughs. 7-4. Dave, I wish. No, when I caught her reshuffling, I was silent, but I looked into her eyes as if to say, I think I know what you're doing. Cat U, and those are the exact words I heard in my head, not in Dave's voice, only thoughts. Joe, is this where you fell in love? Dave, who says we are in love? Joe, you're married, I assumed. Cat U, this is where we both walked away from each other, and we returned to our rooms without saying another word, as if our ability to speak verbally ceased at that moment. 7-10, Dave, notice how she skipped over the love question, Joe? Cat U, I'm getting there. Have another cigarette, Dave. Dave acts like it's an order from Cat U and obeys. $7.13, Joe. Okay, so now it's not cards, it's words. Cat U, exactly. The cards were always random. How could either of us know? The feat to memorize a deck is within everyone's capabilities, right, Leon? Leon, yes, I was able to do it as well. It took about a month to learn a memorization technique. Joe, so you go back to your rooms and start telepathing, or whatever that type of communication would be called? Jamie, can you Google that? Cat U, I think it's just telepathy. I know we didn't start communicating. I called Leon and Doug. I was worried Dave might lose his mind again and watched the feed to his room. Joel, you continue to watch the video feed even with me, Cat U, unfortunately, yes. When it felt like an emergency, or so I thought, when Dave removed the bag of mushrooms from his nightstand. 7:25, Joel. Oh shit, Dave is looking for answers. Joe laughs. 7:27, Dave smiles and pours him another drink. Cat U sighs. She still has to deal with DVD. Cat U sighs. She still has to deal with Dave the rest of the night and get him to kill Tony. 7:29, Joe, now looking directly into Dave's eyes, asks, Did you find the answers? Dave smiles. Dead silence. 7:32, nothing more? No story by any of you? 7:33, the room remains silent for a second, and then Cat U states he won't say. Dave smiles again, holds back a laugh while looking at Joe before they break out into laughter, as if Cat U told the greatest joke in the world for the first time. $7:35. Leon and Cat U smile. Leon and Cat U smile, but realize this is some sort of inside psychedelic joke. Joe, what drugs have you taken, Dave? If you don't mind me asking. Dave, nearly everything except DMT. Joe, heroin. Dave, its cousin, morphine. Joe, LSD. Dave nods, and then remembers it's a podcast and responds with yes. Joe, and your biggest dose of mushrooms? Dave, 10 grams of penis envy magic mushrooms. Joe laughs. Why that variety? Dave, I read an article where a person took a bunch and their tinnitus went away permanently. The story also noted that variety is one of the strongest available. Jamie has been fact-checking everyone as they speak and interjects exactly what Google says. Joe, 10 grams wasn't your first trip, though. $7.50, Dave. No, I worked my way up. At 3 grams, I managed to get a near-complete relief from the noise for a few hours, but it would return when there's shrooms left my system. So I did what any normal sane person with no mental health issues would do. Joel, you increased the dose. Dave, was there any other option? Next, 6 grams would give me nearly 6 hours of relief, but it would only work every third or fourth day. I couldn't take it daily, or it seemed to have no effect. $7.57, Joe, not exactly microdosing. $7.58, Dave, which I also tried, but I have an addict's brain. I need that noticeable change in thoughts or body sensations. Joe, which brings me to the next questions. Weren't you tripping balls with visuals? Dave, no. I took it at night and timed it so I'd fall asleep near the end of the trip. For the first time in years, I could get to sleep without white noise or booze. For the 761, for the first time in years, I could get to sleep without music, white noise, or booze. 762. Dave takes a breath. Just like that. If you heard that. 762. Dave takes a breath before resuming his typing. Now he's looking at the others while he speaks. And I have a theory about visuals and psychedelics. Or at least mushrooms. 763. Joe, what's your theory? 764. Dave, it's programmable. The trip, or at least adjustable by changing the environment where you take them. 765. Joe, why? Good question, Joel. I'm expecting a long answer. $765, Joe, why? $766, Dave. Because taking them at night and alone in my room, I did experience visuals at first. There was a painting in my room I would stare at for hours while listening to music. The colors were amazing, as you know. The scene was in 3D, like super 3D. Like it was a standard trip, fun, entertaining, etc. But as I continued, eventually I got bored with the animation, so to speak. And although I could go to the park in the daytime and experience some more of the same, I didn't see the point. I wasn't in need of entertainment. Like you said, I was looking for answers, and I believe the visuals were a way to avoid finding them. 769. If you're tripping balls, it can be extremely enjoyable visually, but at the end of the day, it's only entertainment. It's only entertainment if you get nothing else out of it. It all needs a whole shitload of commas, but too lazy to do it today. Fuck it. Fuck the commas, Grace. 770. Joe, did you find the answers? 771. Dave, you already asked that. Joe, laughing, I know. Dave, I couldn't afford 6 grams twice a week. I couldn't really afford any mushrooms, so I took the plunge. The heroic 10-gram dose. Which, by the way, I think needs a better name than heroic. Like? Joe, like? Dave, idiotic. Everyone laughs, especially Cat U, who Joe notices is once again holding back tears. Why, he's unsure. 778. Like I said earlier, I've never done DMT. I would have if I had access to it, but I didn't. But I wonder if my 10-gram trip was similar, because like before, I took them at night. Was similar. Comma. Fucking commas. Because like before, comma. I took them at night, but this time the mushrooms hit more like morphine. 779. Joe, how? At a certain point, you know you have enough. At a certain point, you know you have enough, and that your body is going to sleep. A wave of comfort flushes your body. I've experienced something similar on high-dose edibles, but again, it's not the same as morphine. Anyway, the 10-gram hit. The 10-gram hit kicked my ass. locked me on the bed and sent me somewhere. For I have no idea for how long. I have no idea I have no idea how long. And no, I'm not going to talk about that experience, but when I woke up, the tinnitus was gone. Like, absolutely gone. It was so quiet, I thought maybe I was dead. Joe, like an edible overdose? Dave, exactly. That feeling of death, except I was awake. Wide fucking awake. And the world was in 16K clarity. You know what that is like. 75, Joe, I do. $7.86, Dave, but in the moment, I knew this was different than edibles. Those trips you feel foggy, you're asleep. I was fucking awake. $7.87, or I thought I was awake, but I needed to know for sure, so I went downstairs where my roommate was watching TV and started up a conversation. It was all completely normal, except all I could focus on was the silence between his words. I would pause and enjoy it for a second before responding. 790, Joel, your roommate didn't notice you were tripping balls? $7.91, Joe. No. $7.91, Dave. No. And that told me something. It was a clue, a hint. $7.92, I went back to my room and enjoyed the silence. The next day, my roommate said nothing. I guess I can't say any word with 2 O's in it today. My roommate said nothing out of the ordinary. $7.94, Joe, and the tinnitus? Dave, it returned in a few days. Joe, fuck. Dave, but it's nearly gone now. $7.98, Kat, you and Leon return. Joe misses that Dave just mentioned a cure for tinnitus, a condition affecting millions around the world, and without a cure, leaves individuals with feelings of depression and pointlessness. Sounds like that came from AI. $7.99, what do you think now, Joe? $800, Joe, I have no fucking idea. I'm fucking clueless. I don't have a clue. Here we go, Grace. 200 more lines. Getting close. Maybe one more day. Maybe 2. Let's see. Might be 2 days. Or about 900. Yeah. Maybe 2 days. Maybe 1 day. No, 1 day. Tomorrow this will be done. And then I'll get into the studio. I read this new, massively edited version with many, many, many more commas and a whole shitload of paragraph breaks. Till then, hope you sleep well tonight, Grace. Sorry I didn't say sleep that much. I'll do a bunch right now. Sleep. 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 If I was a nice guy, I'd just put that on a loop for you and have this extend out to an hour. But I'm not, so use the repeat button. Or just go to the podcast and just go to YouTube podcast and go play all. And then you got yourself about 80 hours of this crap. Talk tomorrow, Grace.